Excellent. All right, let's get started, everyone. So Charlie, who is to be our moderator, is a little stuck in traffic, so we're going to wing this. She might be joining at any moment, so we'll introduce her when she does. I'm Mark Ross, and I'm from GridMarkets. I'm going to be saying a few words today, as is Ben Hill from Oracle. He'll be describing the security of the Oracle cloud, which GridMarkets depends upon. And most importantly, we have Ferdaus today from Lightberg Studios, who will be telling us the story, his journey, and Lightberg's journey. It's a really interesting story, so looking forward to jumping into that. Let's get started with me, a brief introduction about GridMarkets in particular. So GridMarkets is a cloud rendering and simulation service. We support all the major renders, which you can see in the stack on the left: Blender, Houdini, Cinema 4D, Maya, 3ds Max, and also hopefully your favorite renderers as well: Redshift, Mantra, V-Ray, Arnold, and RenderMan. It's a super simple solution to use. It takes 2 steps to set up, and you can submit directly from whatever your favorite 3D software is, so nothing new to learn. When you do submit, you can submit to use 1 to many machines. So obviously, the more machines you use, the faster your submission will return. And it's a pay by the machine hour model. You only pay for what you use. We have budgeting controls in the solution as well. So if you want to control the amount of money that you're spending, you can do that with our service. And it was built and is supported by artists. So we understand your challenges in meeting very difficult and challenging deadlines. We've been there as well. And as I mentioned, the GridMarkets solution is secured by the Oracle Cloud, which Ben will be talking about in a little more detail. Okay, so just quickly, how to get started. Those 2 steps that I mentioned. First is to sign up to create an account. It's free. Go to the URL at the bottom left there, gridmarkets.com/signup, and you'll be able to fill in a brief form to create your account. Then you download from our cloud a program called Envoy. I'll describe what Envoy does, but those are the 2 steps. After that, you're ready to go. Let's look at what happens once you've been set up. The setup process involves installing Envoy, as I mentioned, and that will include plugins for whatever your favorite 3D software happen to be. So in the example that follows, I'm showing that the GridMarkets Houdini plugin has been installed. And once that is installed, then, as I mentioned, from Houdini, you can submit your job directly to GridMarkets. You don't have to leave the Houdini interface, and then it will start up the number of machines that you specify, as well as the render that you're choosing to use. Once that startup happens and we have received your input files, you get this panel here. This is the Envoy panel, which shows you the status of your jobs at any moment in time. And you can see the jobs there on the bottom left, and the status is to the right of that. And from this panel, you can start and stop jobs. You can buy credits. This is where you would do, if you wanted, for example, to interrogate the logs of your submission, you would click on one of those rows and drill down into the logs. As your frames are completing, they download, so you don't need to wait. They download to the location that you have specified at submission time, a folder that you prefer, or whatever it might be. And that's it. The free trial, again, is at gridmarkets.com/signup. If you use this promotion code, you'll get a 15% discount on any credits you buy. And thanks for that. I'm going to hand it back to Charlie. Welcome, Charlie.
So you've heard from the wonderful Mark, but right now we're going to have Ben Hill from Oracle Cloud Security Specialists talk us through how they're keeping all the glamorous stuff safe. He makes all the sexy stuff secure. So please, Ben, take us through how you do that.
Security is sexy, that's for sure. So thank you, Charlie. So again, my name is Ben Hill. I am a global director for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about when Oracle went about launching our Generation 2 cloud offering. Our approach to security was deliberate and direct. We wanted to ensure that it was always on, automated, architected in, and best of all, free. So let's go over some of the high points on how we went about doing this. First of all, more security by default. Now you're asking, what does that mean? Well, firstly, we designed for isolation. We've taken the hypervisor and put it on the network layer. This approach separates customer traffic, which provides better security and performance. And as an added bonus, it reduces the risk of hypervisor-based attacks. Also, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure has what's called separation of duties, which means Oracle admins have no access to customers' memory space. And as it relates to your data and associated storage services, we have full encryption at rest and in motion, as well as integrated backups for business continuity and disaster recovery best practices. So let's go over now our auto detection and remediation capabilities, specifically Oracle Cloud Guard and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Security Zones. So Oracle Cloud Guard, or otherwise known as OCG, provides comprehensive end-to-end monitoring for cloud environments by continuously collecting and analyzing service configurations, audit logs, and other information, and reporting its findings as problems based on either out-of-the-box security scripts or custom security recipes created by the admin. And to complement OCG, Oracle has OCI security zones, which provides a secure enclave within customer tenancies for the most sensitive workloads where security is mandatory and always on. This helps ensure compute, networking, storage, and database resources comply with security principles, such as always on encryption and no public access. And as I said before, the majority of the security services are free, like multi-factor authentication for user access, OCI Vault, which can be used to store passwords, SSH keys, and certificates. And unlike our competitors, OCI welcomes third-party tools. You can federate IAM, identity and access management policies, with your organization's centralized identity provider, as well as even event management systems like Splunk and Logarithm via APIs and SDKs. And that is all I'm going to say about the sexy world of security. So I'll pass it back over to Charlie and keep the ball rolling.
Oh, thank you. I think everyone will agree that will be the sexiest part of today's webinar.
Boy, I hope not.
Well, so now we're on to Ferdaus, the main man of the hour. Again, I know I always say it's really special, and this really is an inspirational tale and an inspirational journey about someone who has followed their beliefs and passion and changed their path forever. So it's my absolute pleasure to be talking to Ferdaus from Lightberg Studios today. I guess to show us, can start the wrong way round now, is Ferdaus, do you have your reel to show us of the trailer? And then we can backtrack about how you got there.
Yeah, we actually have the trailer ready, I think.
Great, cool. Please share it.
Play it.
Go ahead, Adam.
Der Job lief nicht wie geplant.
Nee, ruf schon mal die Bullen und mach hier auch keine Fax. Raus!
Mein Haar werden wir auf.
Was, Hendricks?
Ein letzter Job. Sorgt mir die Box und euer Traum wird wahr.
Meine Herren, ab jetzt haben wir 12 Stunden Zeit, um das Objekt sicherzustellen.
5000 gottverdammte Jahre!
Was hier gerade eben passiert ist, nennt man einen Zeitsprung.
Ich kann nicht glauben, dass es passiert ist.
Mach auf, Remy! Siehst du nicht, dass das Ding unsere Freundschaft zerstört?
Ich habe lange auf diesen Tag gewartet.
Kaum noch Zeit! Zündet die Zeitmaschine! Los, rette die anderen, ich schaff das schon!
was awesome.
That was pretty impressive. Very very emotive, I would say. Thank you very much for sharing that with us today, Ferdaus. So welcome to the GridMarkets webinar. We're really happy to have you here. So I suppose a bit of background for our listeners and attendees today. Could you tell us a little bit about who Lightberg are and your journey onto how you got to this film?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ferdaus. I'm 27 years old. I'm the executive producer of Projekt Adler, the trailer which we actually saw, and the writer and director of The Life is Great, a 3D animated short film, which we also created in the Lightberg Studios. And our journey actually started around 4 to 5 years ago. We were around 50 people, 15, sorry, people who came together and who came together because of a certain vision. Because right now, as you know, we can see a lot of hate and mistrust going on in this world. And you can see it everywhere, and especially through the last 3 years or through the last couple of years, it even accelerated. And yes, we as human beings, we have a lot of things which actually separate us. For example, our culture, our color, our beliefs, our ethnics, or whatsoever. But at the end of the day, we have much more in common than what separates us. For example, we are all human beings, and we believe mostly in the same universal values. For example, in family and love and hate actually. And so our vision is uniting the people under the umbrella of universal values. So
that's beautiful. And I suppose my question is chicken and egg. Did you think we want to do this and we're going to do this through the medium of film, so we're going to start a studio? Or did you think, or did the film idea come first and therefore you started a studio? What were your thoughts? How did you plan that out?
Well, you have to understand that none of us comes from a filmic background. For example, me personally, I was a web designer and an online marketer. A couple of friends from me who also were involved in the Lightberg Studios were traders and businessmen. So each and everyone was from a different field, you can say. And it actually started because of the vision. So we had all of us, we had that vision, and we came together only because of that vision, and we try to spread that. So you can say the chicken first and then came the egg.
So, I mean, I think that's something I just want to kind of hang on to before we start going to the creative side and making the film and what's really inspiring is you had a completely different career, as did lots of your colleagues and other fellow creatives. Very different. You know, you were working in marketing, you're people in what some people would explain as the very uncreative job of being a trader. You know, that's amazing that drive for the passion and belief in that, in goodness rather than portraying hate was enough for you to go and pursue this project.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, sorry.
Yeah, you can keep on.
So how did it start evolving then? So you were working full time, and then did you start picking up any training, or how did you start dipping your toe into the world of media and entertainment?
Yeah, so at the beginning, as I mentioned, we were from an absolutely other field. And at the beginning, we had to understand the why of a movie. Why is a movie how it actually is? For example, what is an arc, what is plot point, what is hero's journey, and so on and so forth. So at the beginning, we had to understand that. Then we separated our team into two. One is the live action field, and the other one is the 3D animation field. And all of us had online schools, which we tried to, or where we tried to learn. For example, me personally, I was learning 3D animation at Animation Mentor for around 2 years. And a couple of other friends of mine they're learning the lighting and sound design and so on and so forth. So everyone tried to go in, the different aspects to get the foot in the door. After 2 years, we actually started Projekt Eagle, and the script was even written while I was studying at Animation Mentor. And after around after 1 week after I graduated, I became the executive producer, and for around 2 months we were shooting. After 1 week after we shot the film, I had to write and direct Life is Great, and so it was really challenging because I had to focus on two absolutely different the movies at the same time, and everyone from us had to do that. So it would be possible without the help of all these great artists and people who actually helped us. Only on the feature film, around 100 people were involved, and in the animation short film, around 50 people. So
that's amazing, and
yeah.
we'll touch on Life is Great in shortly, but that was going to be my next question. So it started off with 15, and the trailer you showed us looked so impressive. I had, practical effects, visual effects, had everything that you wouldn't expect. 15 guys who worked in very different industries, went online, did some courses. I mean, there has to be some built-in talent there as well. I mean, it looks incredible. But how did you, so the other people that came in and worked on the project, how did you drum up interest? Was it through your own network that you communicated, or was it by the internet, or how did that happen?
Well, our main source was actually the LinkedIn, because the LinkedIn, you can find a lot of creatives, and we tried to reach to nearly everyone and try to convince the people from our story and also from our vision. And we had a lot of people who actually rejected, because we could not pay so much of salaries, and for the most of the people we could not pay them. So we have to convince them and try to show them why we are doing what we are actually doing. So it was quite a trip.
But I think, as you've spoken about the passion and where the why of the project, and with you guys putting so much into it as well, and to be, you had your own careers, you were putting a lot on the line for yourselves as well. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that those volunteers who were on the project were buying in and believed in your belief system as well, and were quite empowered by that.
Yeah, I hope so, because at the end of the day, 150 people came in, and it was quite a journey, you can say, because it was really the hardest work of all, to get all the people together who are actually also really creative and really talented, because it's really hard to combine that actually if you work for free. So it was really a challenge, but at the end of the day, thankfully we were able to went through.
I mean, it's just brilliant. It's just such a great story. And with these volunteers that came on as well, are you still in touch with them? Do you have now this community of talking about the film, or just about, I'm sure it's bred a lot of great relationships. Were they mostly German based, or were they all over the world?
All over the world. I am also still in the connection with the most of them, but they're everywhere, in the US, in UK, in Germany, in India, in China, everywhere, all over the place.
I think it shows what an innate passion and vocation this is for people, because they're not in it for the money, right? Sometimes, most of the time, you know, it's only once you reach a certain peak in your career, maybe, but it's not only the content and the story. Sometimes I think it's the actual love of doing this work. What was it that made you turn to animation? Did you have a passion for animation before you decided to do animation mentor, or were those just the cards you were dealt?
Yeah, at the beginning it was only an interest, you can say, but after 1 year, it was around 1 year, it was really a struggle for me, because animation is really hard work, and I could not imagine how much hard work it actually is. But after 1 year, I really loved it, and until now. And for me, I really love animation, and you know, it's really something like a passion, you can say.
So I think that takes me quite nicely onto our next clip we have to show, which is, because you weren't content in just doing a feature film, also had to do an animated short as well, which again, it's just the caliber of the projects are just insane to when hearing about the story. So Adam, are we able to share a clip of the animated short? Perfect, thank you. Thank you. We just saw a snippet there, but first is it available on YouTube for people to watch? We'll have to send it in the link so people can watch the whole thing. So that's amazing. So I've got a few questions. It's going to be kind of coincide with that, but when you first started out and you had this idea of your feature film, did you always have the goal to do an animated feature as well, or was it like, well, we're doing this film, well, I might as well try to do this as well? How did you come to that decision?
It started actually with the idea to get the foot in the door, to understand the pipeline, how it works, what kind of fields you actually need to create a live action film, and also an animation short film. And a feature film at the end of the day is in short film in a much bigger scale, you can say. So it was more to get the foot in the door and to understand all these concepts of a live action film and also from an animation film.
So you took on the role as animation director on this film, didn't you? So how was that for you to go from doing animation mentor and learning about specifically character animation, I suppose, to learning everything, the lighting, the compositing, and having to have a say over that?
Yeah, it was really challenging at the beginning, and it was only possible with the help of all these great talents. For example, we had a couple of people who helped us who actually work at MPC, in Disney, in DreamWorks, in Jellyfish, and all these people came and they all they consulted me and helped me, and all of us. And you have to imagine that for all these movies, everyone from our team had to do at least 2 or 3 jobs, and we all had to learn at the same time. So it was every time a process, and actually the learning process.
And you mentioned pipeline there. Obviously pipeline is incredibly important and integral to an animated project. Did you have any help with that? Have consultancy? Did you get the suppliers and software on board? What did you kind of center around on your pipeline?
Well, for the pipeline, actually, we just started with Google Drive, and as you can imagine, with Google Drive, you kind of get some kind of chaos, because it's not working how you want it. And then we had to do everything manually, because for example, Shotgun was for us really expensive and we could not afford that. So we had to do everything absolutely manually. So when a shot came in, we had to save it, everyone else had to delete it, and then we have to, so it was really challenging.
And in terms of, I mean, I think that's just an amazing point anyway, actually, before I go on to my next question, is how accessible are these softwares for people that are either trying to do passion projects or trying to get off the ground? You know, that raises a really good point. But did you use Maya? What were the other softwares that you used to create the project? Were they open to you to use?
Yeah, for 3D animation, we had Maya. For compositing, we had Nuke. It was free for use because of full HD. And for modeling and texturing, we also used Maya, and all the other softwares which we actually used were from the creatives themselves, who actually had the licenses. And
that's really great. We've got a few questions coming in. I'm just going to flag that. I'll start asking questions in about 4 to 6 minutes when I look at my clock. But I just wanted to also follow up about funding and how you know, lots of people want to make films, whether that's feature, animation, shorts. And that's the main issue, right? Is you got to get the cameras, the equipment, the people, the kit. And I know that you were very lucky to have lots of people who believed in your project and helped. But did you get any assistance with funding? Was that also a big part of your job? Or was that the people who were the traders beforehand? They were just given the drum up money rolls.
Exactly. So it came from our businessmen, you can say, the people who are in the back times from the business aspect. So our CEO in charge, Njama Kava, he actually also tried to get as many people in as possible. And he actually was able to get some fundings, which were quite okay. And we could, until now, finance everything. But we had to be really, really careful. And yes, you can make a movie with really, really less, but it's, it's quite challenging. But it is absolutely possible. And you can see it in our case. And yes, we had also fundings, but it was in a comparison with what we actually needed. It was really, really less.
And what are your goals for the future? Do you have the next project ready to go? Is it in your head? What's next?
Yeah, we actually already wrote the screenplay for the next animation short film. And for the next feature film, we also have a small idea or a certain idea, but actually we need the fundings for that because, okay, maybe we could go with the same way, trying to reach the people and asking for help, but you should not go with that forever, because everyone has to pay the bills, and it should be a certain kind of help only to reach our goals of spreading unique and universal values. And actually we need the fundings for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as we've spoken about, it's a passion and people aren't driven by money and all that, which is great, but also it's quite exploitative because they are willing to do it without money, but also we need to create and have local and regional and helping young filmmakers start out and do need the help from the governments or whatever creative industries bodies it is to be able to progress, and also help those that maybe, especially on these films that you're working on, you might have a really great talent that doesn't necessarily is able to afford to go to school or to be able to, that, this is how they're learning, is by doing these sorts of jobs. And by having the backing of government funded initiatives, it's super important. So behind you, I wish you all the luck with that funding. But we have some questions for you, some burning questions. So the first one is from Hussefa. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. If you've watched these webinars before, you know I'm not the best. How long did it take you to write the script, shoot the whole movie, and finally editing everything?
So for Projekt Eagle, we wrote the script in around 3 months. And we had the production time of 2 months. And the post-production, it's around now 1.5 years, where we still are in the kind of post-production. And for the animation short film, we needed around 2 weeks because it's only 5 minutes. And the entire process of, in the 3D animation, it's kind of everything is going inside of each other. It took us all in all 9 months.
It's amazing. It is what you can do in those months. If you, so thinking about, we're talking about the funding a little bit and wanting to be able to pay and eventually, I suppose, get people on your staff at Lightberg. Would you be open to working with other studios, or who would commission you to do something, or they would pay you, so therefore you would then have that money to go forward and work on your own projects?
Yeah, for us, it's obviously both possible, because we actually want to get the foot in the door, and wherever we can learn, wherever we can get some, get the learning process out of it, we are really willing, because nowadays all the major studios are creating incredible movies, and we want to learn from them. How are they creating these, and what is the actual process, and all this kind of stuff. So we are absolutely willing for that.
That's great. I think as we've shown, especially how your movies have got made, it's all about collaboration and learning from each other. Another question we have from the audience: do you have advice for others who are looking to start passion projects?
Yeah, I would say the most important advice I would give is you have to be patient, and you have to understand why you want to do it, because at the end of the day you will have really hard days, and you will have a lot of options or opinions where you, from the people, you will hear like, what are you doing? But you have to run. You have to run. You have to run. And at the end of the day, if you are patient and if you are believe in what you are doing, you will hopefully achieve it. So you have to keep running.
Sorry, I keep on forgetting that I'm on mute, so I'm quickly going over the old Zoom classic. We have another question from Hussefa, who asks, do you need a lot of money for the animation films as well, or is it primarily for the non-animation films?
If you create a short film, they're not so much needed. Actually, yeah, as I mentioned, most of the people only worked for free, so we could cut a lot of the money. But if you create a feature film on 3D animation based, I would say you even need much more than a live action feature film, because it's really much more complicated. It's much more intense, and you need, for every aspect, you need the people. And yeah, I would say for 3D animation feature film, you need much more, and for the feature films, the live action feature.
I mean, to put it into context, the company I work for did an animated feature, and I think we went up to nearly 400 people for just one feature, and that was a lower budget. It was, I say lower budget, it was around 30 million, so it was a relatively nice budget, but compared to Pixar and those guys, nothing. So, but like you say, you've got to take into account the heavy data, there's just so much storage and rendering, and that all costs money, and then you've got all the people. It's there's a lot, which I think when watching it, I had my niece ask me once if I made the whole of the film, which I was I obviously took credit for.
You said yes, of course I did.
Of course I did. Yeah, it was just me. Yeah, it's quite surprising. Were you surprised when you did the short to discover quite how labor intensive it was?
Absolutely. I really thought like it's Well, you actually know it. There will be hard, but I could not imagine how hard it is to create that. And I lost all my hairs because of that. Putting all the people together at the same time, learning it, and from all of us, it was really the same. It was really being surprised how much work it actually is, and how much you have to struggle.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, how were your experience? Did you have your personal experience, I suppose? How did they differ from doing live action to the animated short?
For the live action, you have obviously a couple of other kind of problems, you can say, because once you shot, it's over. You cannot change it. You cannot go back and make some tweaks. For animation, you can go back and try to change. And I would say both have a lot of difficulties, but animation is truly another story. It's not something. It's really hard. I would really say it's really hard, but it's obviously possible for everyone. But you have to have the patience, and you have to have a certain goal. Otherwise, it's really hard.
I have one final question for you. What are the top things you would recommend to focus upon when starting up a studio? I think you mentioned it there, patience. It sounds like.
Exactly. At the end of the day, you need patience, and you need a certain kind of a vision why you do it. And once you have that, all the people you will see, they will come automatically, only because of your focus and because of your why. Everything will come by itself. Obviously, you have to struggle and you have to be behind of it, but you will see everything will out of nowhere. All the people are coming. I could never imagine that so many people are really willing to only work because of a certain vision. But it's obvious that you will find everywhere all these people. So you just have to have a clear why. Then it will work. Trust me.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, it's a story that somewhat puts me to shame because you've just achieved so much and just gone with what you've believed in. And I'm sure you've inspired many people on this webinar today, and will inspire many more with those that will watch it afterwards, not live. So thank you so much. I apologize profusely again for being late and running around trying to find an office and lots of things I won't bore you with, but thank you. It's an incredible story, and I'm sure we've not seen the last of you yet, and there's going to be lots of things. I look forward to seeing what you make. So as we finish up on this one, I don't know if you want to say goodbye to everyone as well, Ferdaus, just
Thank you. Yeah, it was also really a huge pleasure. Thank you, the GridMarkets, for
having you,
giving me an
Thank
opportunity.
you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, hopefully we will see us once again.
Oh, we will. We should do one in a year or 2 years. So you've got all those films out the way, and we can do a follow-up, see what else you've got to show us.
So.
So as we end this one, we come on to what's happening next month. Here we have it, not even next month, in 20 days. The 22nd of March, Neil Scholes will be joining us. He is a director and artist for commercials, promos, TV and film. He's the founder and creative director of Valkyrie Beowulf in London. So he's going to be on my time zone, which will be very nice. So you can sign up for this webinar by visiting gridmarkets.com/webinars, which is also where you can watch all the previous webinars as well, should you wish, and you should wish, because they're absolutely wonderful. And I believe, were there other credits? Do I need to do a promo update? No. Okay, we don't need to do that. Well, thank you very much for joining. It's been really fun. It's been wonderful. And see you all again in 20 days.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Ferdaus. Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.